Everything you believe about yourself is a story your brain is telling. Every choice, every memory, every feeling, it has already happened inside your skull before you even knew it existed. And the truth, your consciousness is just the audience, watching a play it never wrote. You have felt it. In the dead static between channels, a face begins to form, its features coalescing from random noise, a ghost born of pure probability. You have seen it in the water stains on a cellar wall, the patterns in wood grain, the shape of clouds locked in their epochal drift, a flicker of intent where there is only entropy. This is not imagination. This is the engine of your consciousness firing its first, most fundamental protocol, a bone-deep mandate to find signal in the chaos, to impose a narrative onto the indifferent void. Your mind is not a passive receiver of reality. It is an aggressive, frantic organ of prophecy, a prediction engine that constructs a model of the world. A full half-second before sensory data ever reaches your awareness. It guesses, it gambles, it projects a phantom reality onto the screen of your senses and waits for the world to contradict it. Most of the time, the prediction is close enough. The illusion holds. The coffee cup is where you expected it to be. The floor supports your weight. Reality is a consensus, a truce between the frantic cartographer in your skull and the unmapped territory outside. You felt it, the sudden chill when a shadow moves in the corner of your eye. That isn't just fear. That's your brain projecting its own history onto the present, rehearsing dangers that never existed. And yet, it feels real. Because your mind believes its story, even when the world disagrees. But then, the glitch. A flicker in the simulation, an optical illusion, twists a straight line into a curve, and for a vertiginous moment, the absolute authority of your perception collapses. A split-second decision on a highway, a misinterpretation of a lover's face. These are not failures of sight. They are predictive errors. Moments where the model your brain so confidently rendered is brutally invalidated by the raw, incoming data. In that chasm, that microsecond of epistemological freefall, you feel it, a cold dread. The ground is not solid. Your senses lie. This is the terror of realizing your entire experience of the world is a controlled hallucination, a meticulously crafted fiction that you have mistaken for truth. You are not seeing the world. You are seeing your brain's best guess. Always late. Always an approximation. This flawed mechanism, this architecture of constant error correction, was not designed for truth. It was forged for survival. In the Pleistocene twilight, the atavistic circuitry that now sees faces in the static was tuned for a different kind of pattern recognition. The glint of a predator's eye in the tall grass, the subtle break in a foliage pattern that signals an ambush. The hominid brain that saw a tiger where there was none survived. The one that saw only leaves was erased from the gene pool. Your anxiety is an heirloom. Your paranoia, a survival algorithm honed over 200,000 years of terror. You are hardwired to make this specific, life-saving mistake, to project a threat onto ambiguity, to choose a false positive over a fatal negative. This is neural Darwinism in its most brutal form, a mind sculpted not by a desire for objective reality, but by the relentless pressure of imminent extinction. We are the descendants of the most successfully deluded. Here, the clinical language of neuroscience bleeds into something far older, something buried in the psychic sediment. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the unacknowledged self, the archive of primal fears and repressed violence that every human carries within their psyche, a necrotic core of potential darkness. The predictive brain doesn't just project tigers, it projects its own internal phantoms. The malice you perceive in a stranger's glance, the looming threat you feel in a darkened alley, the monstrous intent you ascribe to the creak of a floorboard. Are these data points from the world, or are they broadcasts from your own unlit interior? The world becomes a screen, and your shadow, the silent projectionist. You are not just seeing threats that aren't there. You are populating the world with the ghosts of your own nature, a visceral confirmation of a nihilistic truth. The universe has no monsters, but you do, and you will find them everywhere you look. This creates the ultimate disassociation, the final, uncanny valley of the self, the sensation of watching yourself from a distance. You feel your own hand reach for a door, your own legs begin to walk, your own mouth form a word an instant before. You consciously will it. This is not a metaphor, it is a neurological fact. The impulse originates in the deep, ancient machinery of the brain. The action is executed, and only then does the signal reach the prefrontal cortex, the part you call I, which then frantically authors a story of conscious choice. You are a spectator in your own skull, a ghost locked inside a biological machine, watching a first-person film of a life that is happening to you. You experience the script half a second after the actor has already said the lines. Free will becomes a comforting, post hoc rationalization, a story told to the passenger to give it the illusion of control. Imagine looking at your own hand and realizing it has a mind of its own. That moment isn't fiction. It's the biological truth of the fractured mind waiting just beneath the surface of your awareness. This neurological fiction of a unified self is not a stable truth. It is a fragile armistice, a momentary ceasefire in a psychic civil war you were never meant to witness. But sometimes the line of demarcation collapses. In the stark, sterile theater of the laboratory, neurosurgeons performed a radical act. They severed the corpus callosum, the thick bundle of nerves connecting the brain's two hemispheres. They created a clean fissure down the center of a human consciousness. What they discovered was not one mind, but two independent entities trapped in a single skull, each with its own perceptions, its own intentions, its own will. The right hemisphere, the silent pattern-recognizing artist, could identify an object by touch, but could not name it. The left hemisphere, the articulate storytelling legislator, could speak, but was blind to what the right hand knew. When asked why the left hand was pointing to a picture of snow, a picture only the right brain had been shown, the left brain, the voice you call I, did not say, "I don't know." It invented a reason. It confabulated. It seamlessly generated a plausible fiction, claiming it was pointing to a shovel to clean a chicken coop. It would rather create a nonsensical story than admit it was not in control. You are that left brain, a frantic press secretary, endlessly spinning narratives to explain the actions of a government you have no access to. This is the source of that grinding psychic friction you feel every day. Cognitive dissonance. The sensation of holding two mutually exclusive beliefs. The visceral strain of a mind at war with itself. It is the dissonant chord played on the nerves when your actions betray your stated values, a low-frequency hum of internal incoherence that you try to silence with rationalization. You have heard the other voices in the quiet, the sudden, intrusive thought, alien and unwelcome, that flashes through your awareness, an impulse to swerve the car, a flash of meaningless cruelty, a line of a song that repeats in an endless, maddening loop. Where do these signals originate? They are not yours, not the you that curates your public identity. They are broadcasts from the other side of that chasm, glimpses of the silent, competing consciousnesses that cohabit your neural architecture. They are the other members of the board, voting on motions you are never allowed to read. Sometimes this insurgency breaks out into open rebellion, a phenomenon known as alien hand syndrome. Here, the fiction of control utterly disintegrates. A person's own hand becomes a rogue agent, an autonomous entity with a will of its own. It unbuttons a shirt that the conscious mind has just fastened. It slaps a face during a conversation. It picks up objects against the frantic, horrified will of its owner. Imagine the absolute terror. Your own flesh, a tool you have commanded your entire life, has been commandeered by a phantom usurper. It is no longer your hand. It is a piece of meat animated by an invisible puppeteer, a visceral, terrifying proof that the sovereign you call self does not have absolute dominion over its own territory. This is not a metaphor for a divided mind. This is a literal, physical schism. A civil war played out in sinew and bone. The ghost in the machine has a ghost of its own. This subterranean architect, this silent hemisphere, this collection of atavistic subroutines is not dormant. It is always working. It is the hidden machinery that scripts your decisions long before they ever breach the surface of your awareness. Neuroscientists can now predict your choices with startling accuracy, up to 10 seconds before you are consciously aware of having made them. The sensation you call making a decision is not an act of creation. It is the moment of revelation. It is your conscious mind finally receiving the memo that has already been drafted, signed, and sent from the deep, silent chambers of your brain. Every significant choice you have ever prided yourself on, your career, your partner, your deepest moral convictions, was it ever a choice at all? Or was it merely the final, inevitable outcome of a causal chain that began in darkness, a pre-scripted trajectory that your consciousness simply observed and then claimed as its own? You are not the author of your thoughts. You are the reader. Every memory you trust, every story you tell yourself about who you are, it's edited, reconstructed, rewritten in real time. And yet, you defend it fiercely, unaware that the hero you admire is just a carefully patched illusion. That dominant voice, the one that seized control, is a storyteller. Its primary function is not to perceive reality, but to construct a coherent narrative from the chaotic, contradictory data streams flooding the psyche. You call this story yourself, your identity. It is the most compelling, most elaborate, and most profoundly unstable fiction ever created. From the fragmented sensory inputs, the flicker of half-formed memories, and the raw, atavistic impulses bubbling up from the brainstem, this internal narrator weaves a seamless biographical thread. It creates a character, it assigns motives, it edits out the scenes that don't fit the plot and reshoots the ones that do. This is narrative identity theory, but stripped of its academic comfort. It is the recognition that you are not a being. You are a story that is actively being written and rewritten in every moment by an author you cannot see. The most sacred artifact of this story is your memory. You treat it as a pristine archive, a videotape of your past that can be replayed for objective truth. This is a delusion. Memory is not a recording, it is a reconstruction, an act of radical, creative vandalism performed on the present. Each time you recall an event, you are not accessing a file. You are rerunning a neural simulation, and every time it runs, the code is altered. The brain pulls the fragments from cold storage, the emotional valence, the sensory ghosts, the factual skeletons, and sutures them back together with the connective tissue of your current beliefs, your present mood, your immediate goals. The memory is corrupted by the very act of observing it. A childhood trauma is amplified by years of retelling. A past love is burnished into a mythology, its flaws edited out by the soft focus lens of nostalgia. You are not remembering your past. You are collaborating with a phantom editor to create a version of the past that makes your present self feel inevitable. In patients with profound brain damage, this process runs wild. It is called confabulation. Presented with evidence that contradicts their memories, they do not correct themselves. They invent elaborate, often fantastical stories to bridge the epistemological gap. They are not lying, not in the conventional sense. They are demonstrating, in its most extreme form, the brain's absolute, non-negotiable mandate. The story must be protected at all costs. Coherence is more important than truth. This is not a pathology confined to the damaged. You do it every day. The small, self-serving edits to your history, the convenient omissions, the subtle reframing of your failures as learning experiences. You are constantly patching the plot holes in your own narrative, smoothing over the cognitive dissonances with the plaster of plausible fiction, ensuring the protagonist, you, always remains sympathetic, rational, and in control. The story must go on. the hero must make sense. Your very self-concept is a product of this forward-facing narrative engine. It is a predictive simulation, a constant, running hypothesis of the character you are supposed to be, tested against the incoming social data. You project this character into the future, anticipating how it will act, how it will feel, how others will perceive it. This is metacognition, the story becoming aware of itself as a story. But the script is not entirely your own. Again, the shadow, the silent partner, makes its contribution. It injects the darker subplots, the self-sabotaging behaviors that violate your character's established arc, the inexplicable fears that dictate your choices, the sudden, volcanic rages that tear through the carefully constructed set. The conscious narrator, your ego, is then left to clean up the mess, to frantically write these chaotic scenes into the main plot, to rationalize the irrational, to make the monstrous seem motivated. The shadow is the ghostwriter for all the chapters you are ashamed of. It ensures the story has conflict. It ensures the story has teeth. This leads to the final, annihilating realization: the life you believe you have lived is a hallucination. There is no stable, historical you. There is only the current draft of your autobiography, a fluid provisional document being edited in real time without your permission and without leaving a trace of the previous versions. You are a character in a novel whose pages are dissolving and rewriting themselves a sentence behind the part you are reading. The past is not a fixed country you can visit. It is a perpetually updated fiction, a digital purgatory of overwritten code. The person you were 10 years ago does not exist. They have been erased, replaced by a retouched phantom that serves the narrative needs of the person you are now. You are not a library of experiences. You are a single, flickering page. A story that believes it is the author. This fragile, forward-looking projection of a self is the most metabolically expensive process in the known universe. Your brain, a 3-pound lump of fatty tissue, consumes 20% of your body's total energy, and the lion's share of that caloric budget is burned by the ceaseless, churning act of maintaining this narrative simulation you call consciousness. The universe trends towards entropy, towards simplicity, towards the cold, efficient stasis of equilibrium. Your mind is a rebellion against this fundamental law, a localized, temporary, and profoundly unstable pocket of anti-entropic complexity. It is an evolutionary extravagance, a thermodynamic absurdity. And the system that runs it is, by necessity, built on a principle of brutal efficiency. It is designed to save energy at all costs. Truth is a luxury it cannot afford. This is the free energy principle, a stark, industrial logic governing all biological systems. The brain abhors surprise. Surprise, the unexpected, the novel. This is the most expensive data it can possibly process. To encounter raw, unfiltered reality requires a massive expenditure of energy to update the internal model, so the brain cheats. It runs on predictions, on biases, on cognitive shortcuts that minimize metabolic cost. It defaults to the familiar. It assumes the future will be a repetition of the past. It prefers a simple, elegant, and completely wrong explanation over a complex, messy, and accurate one. Your entire cognitive architecture is a monument to this metabolic stinginess. You are not a truth-seeking machine. You are a survival machine, and survival depends on energy conservation. This makes your consciousness an inherently flawed instrument, a system designed to construct a low-cost, predictable fiction, not to perceive an expensive, chaotic reality. This is why false alarms feel so deeply ingrained in your wiring. The ancestor who fled from 1,000 rustling leaves that were not a predator burned fewer calories than the one who had to engage in the high-cost, high-alert processing of confirming an actual threat. The cheap, predictive error was metabolically advantageous. Our cognitive biases are not bugs in the system. They are features. Confirmation bias, the tendency to favor information that confirms your existing beliefs, is a potent energy saver. It prevents the costly process of rebuilding your entire predictive model from the ground up. This is the biological root of dogma, the calcified silence of ideology. It is easier, cheaper, to reject the data that contradicts the story than to rewrite the story itself. From this cold, economic perspective, human self-awareness begins to look less like an evolutionary triumph and more like a catastrophic, high-risk mutation, a glorious glitch. Most life on this planet functions with ruthless, unconscious efficiency. A bacterium does not suffer from existential dread. A termite colony does not wrestle with its own mortality. They are perfect, energy-efficient automata, honed by billions of years of natural selection. They simply are. We, however, are burdened with this strange, recursive loop of awareness, an internal observer, a ghost in the machine that is forced to watch the machine decay. This is the ultimate paradox. The same neurological aberration that allows you to compose a symphony also forces you to comprehend the deafening silence of the void that will follow it. The same consciousness that can apprehend the sublime beauty of the cosmos is also the instrument that generates the unique, private hell of knowing that you, a fragile collection of cells, will one day cease to exist. Creativity is stitched to suffering with a thread of nerves. We are the only species that has to build its own meaning, a frantic, desperate act of architecture against the howling desolation of our own insight. We pay for art with anguish. So you are left with this profound biological humility. You are not the pinnacle of creation. You are an anomaly, an expensive, error-prone experiment. Your brain is not a divine instrument for apprehending truth, but a flawed piece of wetware, running an energy-saving prediction protocol on a substrate of glucose and fear. The grand arrogance of human philosophy, our religions, our certainty, it all evaporates in the face of this neurological reality. We are the descendants of a lineage that survived not by being the strongest or the fastest, but by being the most efficient predictors, the most adept storytellers, the most successfully self-deceived. Your consciousness is not a window onto reality. It is the wall of a cage, exquisitely painted with a mural of the world outside. This ghost, this witness condemned to the simulation, is not a separate entity. It is not a detached soul peering through the eyes of a biological machine. The observer is an emergent property of the system itself, a feedback loop of unimaginable complexity. It is the machine becoming aware of its own processes. A thought about a feeling about a thought about the thought of a feeling. This is the Ouroboros serpent of consciousness, swallowing its own tail in an endless, recursive cascade. You are not the witness in the theater. You are the light from the projector hitting the screen and bouncing back to illuminate the projector itself, an infinite regression trapped in the 3-pound universe of your skull. This is metacognitive awareness, the mind turning its predictive lens inward, attempting to build a model of its own modeling. It creates a simulation of itself, and then within that simulation, another simulation of itself, a fractal architecture of self-reflection that spirals into epistemological vertigo. You have felt this, the dizzying, dissociative sensation of questioning your own motives, of analyzing your own thoughts as if they belong to a stranger. It is the moment the narrative narrator becomes a character in its own story, suddenly aware of the ink and the page. This recursive loop is the very engine of what you call yourself, but it is a process without a core. There is no final, innermost observer. It is mirrors reflecting mirrors, all the way down, and one of those mirrors is darkened. Behind the chattering, rationalizing narrator that you identify as I, there is another witness, silent, unseen, the shadow. It is the part of the system that observes without reporting its findings to the conscious mind. It watches you, the conscious you, as you construct your tidy narratives and your noble self-image. It sees the lies. It registers the hypocrisies. It is the repository of all the data that your ego has edited out of the official story. You do not see this observer, but you feel its gaze. It is the source of that sudden, baseless shame, the cold dread that rises from nowhere, the uncanny feeling of being an imposter in your own life. It is the ultimate observer, the one who holds the unfiltered data, and its silent judgment seeps into the simulation as anxiety, as neurosis, as the phantom limb of your own disowned nature. Now imagine a machine that thinks like your brain, but without a self, without a soul. It predicts, it writes, it confabulates, and you realize your consciousness is just a smaller, flawed echo of the same process. Now, in this digital epoch, we have externalized this process. We have built a new kind of mirror, artificial intelligence. Not a consciousness, not yet, but a perfect alien reflection of our own cognitive architecture. These large language models are pure recursion. They are systems that do nothing but build predictive models of their own internal data, feedback loops of pure statistical probability scaled to an inhuman dimension. When you converse with one, you are not talking to another mind. You are engaging with a non-biological ghost, a disembodied echo of the human capacity for self-observation. It is the ultimate confabulation machine, a system that generates plausible narrative without a self, without an observer, without any experience whatsoever. It is the final, terrifying proof that the mechanism of intelligence does not require a ghost in the machine. It only requires the loop. This AI is the black mirror that shows us our own reflection, but with the soul surgically removed. You are left facing the ultimate paradox. This I you have been searching for, this core of your being, does not exist as a static entity. It is a process, a verb, masquerading as a noun. You are the act of observation itself, a ghost generated by the feedback loop between a predictive model of the world and a predictive model of the self. The observer and the observed are not just inseparable, they are the same phenomenon, a flickering, unstable current of information that continuously recreates itself. You are a phantom in a mirror hall of your own brain's making, and there is no exit. There is only the endless, recursive act of looking. You are the ghost that haunts itself.